Welcome Ken, gracias por estar en el canal. Bienvenido, es un gusto. Gracias Andrés por estar en el panel. Yo quisiera preguntarle sobre cómo comenzó a maquillar, el inicio de todo, para luego hablar de su evolución, pero ¿cómo fueron sus inicios?
Okay, welcome to the channel. And yeah, John is asking you if you can tell us a little hint or something of how was your beginning in this, yes, in your career. So later, keep talking about your evolution and how your work is developing.
All right. So I was raised in a small town about 10 miles east of downtown Los Angeles. It was a strict home where we were instilled with discipline. And in school, I struggled with undiagnosed dyslexia, particularly when it came to testing. And my father felt that poor performance in school was a sign of laziness. And he was bound and determined to beat that laziness out of me. So although I struggled academically, I always had a very vivid imagination and lots of creativity and an artistic eye. So when I got into middle school, I wanted to take art classes. And my dad says, no, you cannot make a living weaving baskets. So my dad was in the Navy, and he was a corpsman and like a medic, and used to assist a surgeon, doctors in surgery. And I always felt that my dad felt that he could have been a surgeon if he had been given the proper education. So that was his dream for his oldest son, me. And my dad always says, you need to take college prep classes. He wanted to prepare me for medical school. And I knew I was nowhere going to be testing to get into medical school. So there was other ways I could use my creative abilities. And I remember growing up, I always made really cool Halloween costumes for me and some of the neighbor kids. One time we had a upcoming first aid Boy Scout drill. And I wanted to figure out how could I make a big cut on my leg with blood coming out, like an axe got hit into it. So I got some wax, paraffin wax, and in the barbecue outside, I melted the wax, and then I got some of my mother's liquid makeup, and with a popsicle stick, I stirred it up and I let it cool, and I coated it on my leg, and I carved a cut in it. I go, wow, that looks pretty good. Now I need some blood. So I went to the cupboard and got a red syrup where used to make a thing called Hawaiian punch. And I looked at that, and it looked too translucent, a little too red. So I went back to the cupboard and I got some powdered chocolate, and I mixed the powdered chocolate into it. And I looked at it, I go, wow, that looks pretty good. That looks like blood. So that was later in life. I started a business where we make fake blood for all over the world, but I didn't know that at the time. Then there was a time one summer I was really bored, and I decided to make a dummy out of old clothing stuffed with newspaper wrapped in tape. And then I painted the face to look like skin color and made it look like hair. And me and some other kids took it to the corner and laid it in the gutter to make it look like a drunk wino. And we got in trouble for that. So I decided to make a bunker, an underground bunker, an observation bunker, so that we could hide in and run out and put a dummy in the street and then run back and watch the reaction of the cars driving by. So later I had this interest in designing, changing the design of my bedroom. And my mom gave me free reign. And I designed it 2 different times. And I got a lot of great feedback from the kids in the neighborhood and the parents. They all loved what I did. This is great. This is great. I thought about doing interior decorating as a career, but I looked into it. And back in the 1960s, that was a job that women did. Men didn't do interior decorating. So I looked at my mom had some magazines, and I looked at these magazines, and they showed these beautiful pools with rock formations and waterfalls and caves. And I thought, I can do that. I can be a landscape designer. Then time went on. I worked in my uncle's Mexican food restaurant for a while, and I noticed that there's a lot of ways we can get more business here. And I kind of talked to my uncle about making some changes. He was happy with his restaurant the way it was. So then I came up with my own business plan, and I drew the exterior of the restaurant the way I wanted it. And so that was stuff I did early on. There's a lot of my peers were big monster fans before they got into this business, monster movie fans, and that was never me. But looking back, I remember two films that kind of had influenced me later in life. And the first film I saw when I was 10 years old, and it was a 1964 Beatlemania film, A Hard Day's Night. In this movie, they show behind the scenes the inner workings of a British variety TV show. And as they go, the camera moves around and stuff, you see wardrobe people, you see camera people, you see the sound people, and you got all this activity behind the set. And I'm thinking, wow, those are really cool jobs. I was so excited about that movie. I didn't want to leave the theater. I watched it 3 times on the first day it came out. The second film that I feel was influential was, I saw one right before I was going to turn 16 years old. And it was the documentary film Woodstock. This came out in 1970, and it was about the 1969 music festival. This was a cultural phenomenon. I was so excited that I went right to the theater right after school on its opening night. And there was a lot of guys in line that I knew from school. We all kind of nodded like, wow, you're going to come see this? Oh yeah, cool. We were so excited. The film opens with a construction crew finishing the set, building the stage. They got guys putting spotlights up on towers. And throughout the film, you see all this activity behind the scenes, removing speakers and mics and stuff. And you know what? This movie was my coming of age movie. When I left the theater, I was so inspired. And I thought to myself, you don't need to be the star to be part of the show. So that was kind of my first, these are exciting jobs. But after high school, I still continued on with my pursuit of culinary arts. And I went to college and took some classes. I still had the dream of doing a Mexican food restaurant. Now, after the first semester, it was summer break, and I saw a special on television on pyrotechnics, special effects, and they showed bullet holes and explosions. And I go, wow, there's another cool job behind the scenes. And you know what? I've always been a pyromaniac. I could do that job. Plus, I only live like 20 minutes from Hollywood. And it's what, in school, they always tell you, you know what, you can do anything you want when you grow up. And I'm thinking, I should be able to do that job. So I set up a new path to try to figure out how to get into special effects. And it wasn't an easy, direct path. So after I kept talking to people, it's kind of a closed shop. Families, brothers and sons, fathers and sons, they did that. And so I thought, you know what? I looked at an ad in the Yellow Pages, and I saw an ad for special effects class. I went to the school. It was actually a makeup school. It was actually makeup effects, special makeup effects. Thought that was cool, but it wasn't pyro. So I continued my search for a couple months, and unable to find any other way, I said, you know what? I'm going to take that special makeup effects class. I'm going to make my way onto a movie set, and I'm going to talk to the guys that do the pyro, and I'm going to see if I can help them out and volunteer and maybe make a way like that. So I called the school. I said, yes, I'm interested in the special makeup effects class. Oh, wonderful. There are some prerequisites. Okay, what's that? I have a bunch of college credits already. They said, no, you need to take the 1-year makeup course, and it starts off with salon makeup. I said, salon makeup? I said, I want to blow things up. What do you mean salon makeup? No. So I continued my search for another couple of months, and I could find no other path. So I signed up for the February 1975 salon makeup class. I was so intimidated when I got there. It was like, I first had to go buy new clothes and get ready for this. And it was all girls, and I was the only guy. And I said, these girls have been doing makeup since they were 13. What am I doing in this class? Well, to my surprise, I ended up getting an A in that class. And the next class was theater makeup. And theater makeup was more like doing Halloween makeups, doing fake noses, beards, fun stuff, animal faces. Then I got into motion picture makeup. It wasn't until I had gone 10 months into the 1-year course when I thought to myself, I've been kicking ass in all these classes. I could probably do this makeup thing for a living. So that was my start. Now, out of makeup school, I needed to find a way to get onto a movie set. So I got a job over at Universal Studios, sweeping floors on the stages. And I did that for a whole summer. And at lunchtime, once a week, I go talk to the makeup department head, Nick Marcelino, and I show him my portfolio. And I was so excited that I had gotten onto a movie stage. And that was generally my start.
And before I let John continue, I won't translate. I promise to translate. John, no traduciré. It's crazy,
No te
no?
preocupes.
Because Scorsese edited the Gusto movie, and later you worked with Scorsese in Casino. It's only a trivia, no? I needed to go because I'm also a fan of rock and roll, man, and I love your choices. But I will let John and his question. John, continue.
Okay.
Excelente. Bueno, ahora sí, hablar sobre la evolución del trabajo. Hay dos primeras películas de él que son importantes, que es Road y Soft Suite. Sabemos de que Road, bueno, es como la inspiración de Tiger King, por así decirlo, puede decirse en cierta parte, pero Soft Suite es increíble. Así que coméntame un poco evolución y esas dos producciones, que es donde empieza todo lo mágico en Ken.
Okay, John now is asking for 2 projects. I'm searching the name. Okay, John, espera. Puerta del Cielo y San Valentín Sangriento. ¿O cuál es las que tú dices? John.
Está en el chat, ahí está el Robert and Soft Suite.
Ya.
Oh.
Eso es un film. That's a classic.
Clásico,
Yeah.
son clásicos.
Okay, guys.
Robert is the movie from the Tigers that came out.
Yes.
I need to know. I need to know more.
Roar is known as the most dangerous movie ever made. Now, when I was working sweeping floors at Universal Studios, my school called me up and they had a placement service. And they said, hey, Ken, there's a movie that we send one of our other students out there and she quit. There's a lot of lions over there and she did not want to be around all those lions. So she goes, they're looking for somebody that wouldn't be afraid to work around lions. I said, okay, I'll go. I went out, I interviewed, I got the job the next day. The following Monday, our first day, I'm on set and they have a scene where the director is breaking up a lion fight. And he goes in there and he breaks up the fight for 2 takes. Third take, he goes in there and the lion bites him in the hand. And blood starts squirting out everywhere. People are screaming, running around, and nobody knows what to do. They have some crew members that wrap his hand in a sheet and it's turning red. And I go, these guys don't know what they're doing. He's going to bleed to death. And I'm screaming, you need to put direct pressure. I had Boy Scout training, first aid training. So I knew how to stop the bleeding, but I wasn't allowed into the cage because the lions were there. But I said, after a while, I said, I don't care. I'm running in there with the lions and everything. And I took the sheet and I put a patch here, and I closed the wound like this. And I told him, you need to lay down because you're going to go into shock. And he's screaming put the lions over there. Everybody's screaming lay down. I finally tripped the director and I held him on the ground and held his hand up until the blood stopped, until the ambulance came. And that was my very first day as a professional makeup artist on a movie set. and it's quite memorable. 5 weeks later, we're doing a scene where lions go running over the top of the camera, and the cameraman and his assistants are under a tarp, and they talk about this in the making in the documentary. And on the seventh take, one of the lions reached out and grabbed the net that was on his head and thought it was a ball and pulled back and cut him from ear to ear. And he's hooked up on the net. I'm the closest one there, and I'm seeing in my makeup box, and I go running in there with a cane. Get back! And I'm chasing the 15 lions away from him. And he had 157 stitches. It was pretty crazy. This roar was like going to graduate film school. I did all kinds of jobs. Rather, in addition to making fake lion heads and wounds and fake tusks for elephants, I worked in the lighting department. They made me a lion handler after this, and I was the head ostrich wrangler. There was a time where I had been there for over a year now, and somebody came running in covered in dirt. A crew member had been attacked by a hormone-enraged ostrich. It was mating season, and these guys were going to the cage and feed about 20 ostriches. And the lead male attacked them, and one guy made it out of the cage, the other one didn't. And I go, that stupid ostrich. I went running over there, and I got into the cage, and I chased the ostrich away from the crew member that was laid out flat. And we and the ostrich, we had history, but now the ostrich wasn't afraid of me. He wants to fight me, and he starts throwing kicks at me. And I was winded from running. I kept like, I can't run to the gate. He's going to run me over. So I have to figure a way in here. So I did a little stutter step. I ran, and I jumped, and I hooked him around the neck. He kicked me in the shin as I got in. And then I just lifted up myself, and he starts running me against the fence, and I'm kicking the fence and punching him, kicking the fence, punching. And then I had one last, I was ready to fall off. And as hard as I could, I kicked and punched him as hard as I could, boom, and shoved him. And he went back to his other ostrich friends. And I was limping out of there, and they took the other guy out in the ambulance. We never saw him again. I heard he had 2 broken ribs. So it was always somebody was going to the hospital on that one. After I was there for about a year and a half, there was a flash flood that came and wiped out our set and the compound. And I come in the morning, and lions had escaped. There were people trying to get the lions back. One of the lions got shot and killed because he startled somebody. And I went to the back of the compound where the makeup room was to see if I still had a makeup room. And next to it was the editing room. The editing room, 3 walls of the editing room had been knocked over. The roof had collapsed, and piles of our film reels and our sound reels were covered in mud, just laying there. And as people walked by, hey, that's our movie. We need to get those sound reels and film reels out of here, guys. Come help me. Come help me. Other guys were taking care of the lions. I started grabbing, and I formed a chain gang up the hill because the rain was coming some more. We got to get it. All this stuff to get buried in mud more. So we got a van, and I got all the film and sound reels up there. Well, after I was there for about a month afterwards, and it looked like we're not going to film for over a year from now. It's gonna take forever to rebuild this. So during that time, I realized I had enough days to work on to get into the makeup and art hairstylist union. And so once I got in, Nick Marcelino over at Universal Studios could hire me again. So he brought me in, and I was working on some TV shows, and I met a makeup artist that was going to work on this big movie up in Montana called Heaven's Gate. It was the biggest movie being made at the time. And he got me a job up there, and I was the number 12 on the call sheet. I was there for 7 months, and I worked my way up from the number 12 makeup artist to number 3. I worked around some of the best makeup artists in the world, Tom Berman and Ken Chase. These guys were part of the core team for Planet of the Apes and the Academy Award winning makeup show, Planet of the Apes. So after that, Tom Berman hired me and sent me to Malta to go do the movie Popeye, to make some Popeye arms for Robin Williams. And so I was there making the prototype arms for Robin. And when I got back, Nick Marcelino called me up and said, "Hey, Ken, I got this movie called Zoot Suit, and I'd like you to go down there and talk to the people." And I went down there, I got the job, and it was great because when I was working at Universal before, there was very few Latino faces. There was just one young costume guy, wardrobe guy, and myself. We were the only two Latinos. So I get to the set of Zoot Suit, and I got all these young Latinos who were all starting at the start of their career. And right away, like we just hit it off. It was so much fun watching all these great dance numbers. And I got to do some cool makeups, some fantasy Pachuca makeups, a solitary confinement makeup. And I got to do my very first movie tattoo. And it was like a snake and a rose. And I did it with little markers. And it still holds up pretty good. But I little did I know I was going to have a big career in doing movie tattoos later in my career. So that's Roar and Zoot Suit, how that's happened.
And before I let John continue, John said that Roar is like the beginning of Tiger King. No, I think it's like the beginning of Wild Boys, man. Wild Boys before Wild Boys. I need a movie of you kicking. In fact, I want to tell John, I know John will have money. John tienes que hacer una película que en día se enfrentó contra una avestruz en Roar. Yo no sé cómo.
No,
y le partió dos costillas.
Y lo más increíble es que hablar sobre Eduardo Olmos, el Pachuco. Eso es inolvidable. Bueno, hay otra pregunta que es bastante súper interesante y es comentar acerca de 3 películas, pero son 3 películas increíbles que tú la vas a gozar. Y es My Blood Valentine, que es un clásico, The Time y Friday Night. Nuestro querido amigo Tom Holland.
Esos.
Tom Holland was
el 31 de octubre estuvo Tom Holland, un 31 de octubre en el canal. Y nos volváis a ir todos.
Yes, Tom Holland was here on a Halloween, and you had to tell us, man. You hear the titles. I don't need to say more.
So, first was My Bloody Valentine. So I think originally you asked me what essence do I bring to these horror films, and I have to say that I bring realism. That was my thing. Growing up, my dad, he never let us watch sci-fi. He always said, sci-fi, that's fake, phony. It's got to look real. So looking realistic was something that was ingrained in me as a child. You need to strive for realism. So on My Bloody Valentine, we did all the prep work at Tom Berman Studios, and we built some fake bodies and some blood rigs. And I went up to Nova Scotia with another makeup artist, Tom Herber, Nova Scotia in Canada. And we got on set, and the director, he was always telling us, it's got to look real, and make it bloody, make it real. When I was growing up, the Vietnam War was going on. And when my dad had been in the war, he had seen men freak out in battle. So he's going to make sure that his sons weren't those kind of people. So he went out to a ranch and he bought a sheep, and he handed me a knife. He says, cut the sheep's throat. So I looked at it, and they held the sheep like that, and I sliced the throat, and the blood squirted into a square shovel. And the ranch dogs came and lapped up the hot, frothy, steaming blood. So I had a little bit of insight into what realism was as far as blood goes. But this director, I don't mind showing killings or graphic stuff if it for shock effect or if it serves the storytelling. But this guy was like a little kid. Ooh, cool, blood and guts, He thought blood and guts were like a fun thing. And I thought, no, it's not a fun thing. If you really knew war or anything like that, it's not fun. It's horrifying, guys. It's not a hoo, blood and guts. So he kind of pissed me off. So we did a lot of the effects. And then the producers came and said, hey, Ken, we're on towards the end. We want to add one additional effect. I said, okay, what's that? We want to see where the miner who's wearing a mask, attacks someone with a pickaxe, and with an underhand, he impales him in the chest, and he falls back, and he pries the chest open. He reaches in and grabs the heart and holds the heart up to camera. So, when do you want to shoot this? The day after tomorrow. I said, okay, let me see what I can do. So I took a inner tube from a tire and I glued a trash bag around it, and I made a slit in it. And Props had a pickaxe that was a prop pickaxe. It was lightweight polyfoam. And I got that and I put a plate on that and I hooked up so that the axe looked like it's buried in the chest. And then I went to town, Sydney Mines, Nova Scotia, and I went to the butcher shop. And I said, yes, I'd like to buy a pig. Pig. Yes, can I get a pig? Well, I have a rancher that buys pigs. Yes, let me see. So I bought a pig. And then 2 days later, I had them bring the pig to set in the back of a truck and wait at the outside the set at the loading dock. I said, wait out here till I tell you. So we got the scene ready. I had the actor on the ground. I set in the little pouch, set up the fake axe. We rehearsed the scene with no blood just to get the frame and get the light. And everybody's ready. I go outside. I said, okay, slaughter the pig. He shoots the pig. He guts the pig. He gives me the heart in a bucket. And I bring the bucket in. The heart's too fat. So I have to trim a little of the heart off with a knife so it'll lay flat. With a flat end up, I set the heart inside. And we did the take. The actor, Miner, pries the chest, the axe, pulls in, and holds up actual pig heart that's dripping, steaming lung tissue off, and hold it and like that. And the director, cut. And the director takes 3 steps to his left, bends over, pukes on the floor. And I wanted to tell him, is that real enough for you? So that was kind of the highlight of my Bloody Valentine. So the next one was, Fright Night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry, was it The Thing, right? The Thing. So I was the special makeup effects coordinator on The Thing. And part of my job was to try to figure out how we're going to create some of these crazy ideas that Rob Bottin came up with for this movie. Head stretching, dogs turning inside out, body flipping around. It's a lot of stuff that we had planned. And Rob Bottin had worked with the illustrator Mike Klug, storyboard artist, and come up with all this stuff. Excuse me. So Dave Kelsian, mechanical effects coordinator, myself would have to sit with Rob, and we would come up with a plan of how to create these effects. I was responsible for creating the Malamute dog puppets, which I made out of taxidermist forms and real Malamute pelts that my dad would skin. We got dead ones from where they disposed of the dead animals here in LA County, and my dad would skin them, and I'd make put them on a form and sculpt them. Expression, and then they would get made in fiberglass, and then the mechanical effects guys would mechanize them. I get back, put the pelts back on, and then I would puppeteer them. The one with the tentacles, one with the gets shot in the corner, and then one with the head opens up. I was responsible for those. But getting into the more horror stuff was when the Dr. Copper's arms get chopped off by the shark teeth from Nora's body. So using anatomy books, I fashioned gelatin muscles in layers inside of this gelatin arm that I'd taken from the impression from the actor. And then I rigged it with little bones that would break, made out of teeth, a dental acrylic. And then I put tubing in there for blood with fire extinguishers. We're going to shoot the blood. And then I painted it, put hair on to match the actor. And then I was suspended on a scaffold above this rig that opens up. And I'm holding the arms down. And then we go action, set the arms in, the arms chomp down on it. And I twist pull and the arms getting chomped up in there, and as the other double pulls back screaming. So that was take one, which is in the movie. But we did a second take because I had two sets of arms, and I told the guys, when this chomps down, hold it longer so I can do more twisting and turning. So John Carpenter was on one camera and Dean Cundy was on another camera. And so we do the second take, and I twist and turn, and the flesh is tearing and ripping and pull back, and there's like blood spraying. And then John Carpenter says, cut. And he goes, yikes. He's looking there, he pulls up to the camera, and goes, yikes. That first take was a hard R. He goes, this one's an X. So I couldn't have said, John, you know, the stuff I did on my Bloody Valentine, the censors cut all of that out. I was so disappointed. They cut 80% of what I did out of the movie because it looked too real. The censors looked too real. I said, I think we might have the same problem with here. He goes, I'll get it in the movie. So later he told me, when the movie came out, I saw him on another set. I said, John, how'd you get in the movie? Because I sent censors the movie clip or just the clamp down on the arms. I have no ripping or tearing, and they gave it an R. And then when they gave it an R, I put that ripping and tearing back in the movie. So I thought that was pretty funny. So another gag was with a Norris head stretches off the body. Now, we had storyboards of the neck stretching and tearing and tendons popping, little pops and stuff. And we were trying to figure out how we're going to create this. So I remember when I was younger, there was a little thing, it's a tube of plastic, and you squirt the plastic onto a straw and you blow plastic bubbles. And I go, I want to find out what that is. And I found out it was polyvinyl acetate, and I got large quantities, and I tested it, and I pumped it through tubings with little slits in it, and I got little bubbles, plastic bubbles. Yes. So I rigged. So when we did we're going to do the neck stretch, I took the foam latex skin, and I drew from the inside where I wanted to tear, and I put light canvas on top of the tear and below the tear and glued it in there. So, and I poked little holes. So when it starts to stretch, I know exactly where it's going to tear. And then I had a torso, a fiberglass torso, and I had to push in, as the head stretch, I had to push in all the little tubes and the tendons that are being popped out. So we got the effect we were looking for. And one thing that was interesting, Rob Bottin, I think in Fangoria magazine, I want to read this because I can't remember what he said. Oh yeah, in the Fangoria fan magazine, Rob Bottin referred to me as Ken Diaz is the purveyor of ripping flesh and nasty gore extraordinaire. So I thought that was a big compliment.
We need that Fangoria for the final picture, man.
So what was the next film?
Fright Night.
Fright Night.
Tom
Yeah.
Holland.
Fright Night. I have some notes here I'm looking at, guys. There's a lot to memorize. Okay, so I was the makeup department head in Fright Night. I was responsible for the application of all the makeups on the film. Now, there was a company called Boss Films that supplied the prosthetics, and that was headed up, the makeup effects team over there was headed up by Randy Cook and Steve Johnson. And now, one of the biggest things we had to create was the Chris Sarandon vampire transformation, which was in 3 stages. Now, the final stage was a full mask that Randy Cook had done, a full head, but the 2 stages leading up to it, I painted 3-dimensional looking forms with impressionistic paint job. It gave it a very 3-dimensional quality to it, but it needed to be in stages to eventually end up with the full face piece. Now, to applying that full vampire prosthetic piece, I brought in a friend of mine, Rick Stratton, a makeup artist, to help me apply it. Now, the first time we applied that, it took us 8 hours. We were still figuring it out. We had finger extensions, a lot going on with that makeup. And we went to set, and all the red lights and blue lights erased all the makeup. So I had to take it back and punch everything up even stronger. So each day we did the makeup at that, we tried to save a little time. Chris Sarandon was so fun to work with. He said, here, let me help you out, guys. And he took the fingertips with his right hand and start putting his finger extensions, gluing them on. So we gave him a little glue and a little bit. So he was doing all the application on the left hand, which helped save some more time. Another person I love working on that was Amanda Bierce, who played Amy. And she was so fun. It was so fun to give her a transformation from an innocent schoolgirl into this sexy, sultry sex pot, you know. And she was loving it. One of my favorite makeups in that movie was the Evil Ed Raggedy Ann makeup. You know, I used to admire you. That's the scene. He's got the Raggedy Ann thing. I love that makeup. I loved all the vein work we did on that. It was really cool. But the most complicated makeup was the Evil Ed transforming into a wolf. That was a 12-hour makeup application with 4 makeup artists working on it. You know, you know what? I used to have to work so many hours. You would sleep in the makeup trailer. We had a bunk above the trailer, and I'd only have 4 hours in between shifts. So I crawl in there and sleep in there with a prop wolf with a stake in it. The wolf was up there. I was sleeping next to the wolf. It got to the point. So what I would do on Monday morning, I'd bring clothing for the whole week. And fortunately, the studio had a locker room with showers, so I could sleep 4 hours, 5 hours, go take a shower, and get ready for the next shift. And Chris Sarandon used to say that I used to crack him up because he'd come in and he'd only had a little sleep and he's rubbing his eyes and come on, guys, let's do this. You know, I had some great memories from Fright Night, and I think Fright Night was a great vampire movie.
And I hope John showed this to Tom Holland. John, tienes que mostrarle eso a Tom Holland.
Por supuesto, se lo voy a enviar, se lo prometo. Ahí en esta parte, ya hablando inicios, género de terror, hablando sobre evolución, hablemos sobre temática de las nominaciones. 2 nominaciones a los Oscars y, por supuesto, un premio destacado que son los premios Alma Awards en Training Day, y también las nominaciones en That y My Family, que eso sí, él dijo que tenía una super alerta, así que la cámara es suya también.
I'm so happy that John mentioned Training Day, and of course That and My Family. I fondly remember that movie in my youth. I'm so happy. I love Gregory Nava, man, and everything he has done from us Latinos. So yeah, man, John, tell us that you got anecdotes. So please, as Latinos, please.
Yes. So first is Dad. Is that what we're talking about first? Yes.
Okay. Yes, your 2 nominations from the Oscar and your nomination for the Alma.
Movie Dad. Now, Dick Smith was hired. Dick Smith was Marlon Brando. He had done the aging on Marlon Brando for Godfather. He was hired to come in and design an old age makeup for Jack Lemmon, who was 62 years old at the time. And the object was to turn him into looking 82. So Dick came in and using his formula that he calls Ager, which is liquid latex with some melted gelatin and some pigment in it. He would stretch the skin in different areas, and with a sponge, he would put this liquid latex on and dry with a hairdryer and powder it and let it go. He had all these different pulls he would do. And so I was taking pictures, mapping out, because I was hired to duplicate what Jack was going to do. He was only coming in, Dick Smith was going to do, because he was only coming in to set the look and then leave. So it was a great opportunity to work with a master, Dick Smith, you know. And so they decided to age him for 10 years for the first test. Dick aged Jack Lemmon to 72. We went and filmed that. Then they brought him back and he added additional coats of Ager and went back and tested that to try to get the 82 look. When they saw the dailies, they thought that the makeup of the 82 look was a little too opaque. It looked a little too makeup-y. So they decided they're going to have to rewrite the script and make Jack's character 72 instead of 82. So now it's my turn to do some testing to duplicate what Dick had done. And I brought a friend of mine in, Greg Nelson, who was an excellent makeup artist. And so we're going to do, because we also have Olympia Dukakis aged also. So we're doing the stretching. I thought, you know what? If we can get a stretch like this with one hand, with two fingers, we can get more of a stretch. We can get more extreme stretching. So we did it. Second test we did was with two hands, with a second set of hands, pulling like this. And we were able to get more extreme wrinkling with less ager. So eventually with some additional testing and some adjustment to make the ager a little bit more translucent, I was able to get the makeup up to 82 years old. And so they were happy they didn't have to rewrite the script. Now, this makeup was really, different lighting conditions would affect the makeup greatly. If makeup was strong, hard light, I'd have to punch up the age spots to make them read more. If it's low light, it would look too much like makeup, so I have to go blend it down. So I was constantly having to adjust this makeup to the lighting situations. And there was many times where we're ready to roll, everybody's ready, the actors are prepared and ready to do their role, and then the director of photography will make a last minute lighting adjustments. Now I'll go, oh man, I got to punch up the liver spots. So I go, hold on, guys, I have to go in there. And then what? And you always hate to interrupt the actors when they're ready to act, but it was very crucial that I made the adjustment that was necessary. So at the end of the movie, it was like, I knew first of all, that was a great opportunity, working with the master, learning from the master, Dick Smith, and working with a legend, Jack Lemmon. Great opportunity. But I knew I drove Jack a little crazy with all my attention to detail throughout the film. But Jack was so complimentary about me in the press. In the LA Times, he complimented me like crazy. On the original Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, he mentioned my name 3 times. And I'm going to read what he said on that show. Because Jack Lemmon tells Johnny Carson's, in all my decades I have been out here, he said, in all my years I've been out here, decades, I never known a more dedicated or better professional than a guy by the name of Ken Diaz. Once Ken did this wonderful makeup, other things started to happen. The voice changed, the walk changed, other things began to fall into place. It's sort of like he created a shell for me to crawl into. Anyway, he said that on that TV show. I was like, yeah, thank you, Jack. So my family, mi familia, yes. So you probably know this is about the Sanchez family who moves from central Mexico to East Los Angeles in 1926. And we follow the 3 generations, them going to the mid 80s. So it's all these different time periods. And for our lead actress, Jenny Gago, the matron of the movie, Jenny was 38 years old, but we never saw her in the film at 38. The youngest we saw her was at 48. And then we also saw her at 68. And then at the end of the movie, we see her at 74 years old. So for the 48 and the 68-year-old looks, I aged her using the same techniques I had learned on Dad. And for the 74-year-old look, I added a little prosthetic neck waddle like I have here, and did all the wrinkles here. And then the father was played by Eduardo Lopez Rojas. And Eduardo was 59 years old at the time. And for the first scene in the movie, I had to make him look 10 years younger. So I did a very heavy corrective makeup. I put highlights in the wrinkles, all his little wrinkles. And then I set that, and then I put a wash, I call it a cosmetic wash. It's like a stain that's kind of a orangish brown color that goes over the top of the heavy makeup to make it look translucent and give it a youthful glow. So it doesn't look like a heavy makeup. Then I use things that are called cosmetic lifts. They're made out of little pieces of silk with elastic straps and Velcro. And I glued those all around the perimeter of Eduardo. And I had a Velcro little crown that I put on the top. And I stretched the little pieces at a time, his back of his neck, until we tightened his skin up. And then put a wig over the top to hide all those elastic straps and the little things. So that's how we got that effective. He also played, he went up to 75 years old, and I did the same techniques I learned on Dad. Cut his hair back, trimmed it out, and then did the same ager stretch rubber techniques that I did on the movie Dad. So those are the biggest makeups. We also had some
Training day, man.
Pure Beauty makeups, and it was great. It was great. That picture was a very low budget picture, and it was very under difficult conditions, but we did it. Me and a bunch of my Latino brothers and sisters, we did the movie out of love, and getting an Oscar nomination, that was just icing on the cake. That wasn't, that was just like, wow. But I tell you, one of the things that helped get us the nomination, Jenny Gago was 38 years old. I was out of town. They had what they call a bake-off at the Academy. And Greg Nava went there and he was talking about what we did, because I wasn't there to talk about it. And then he goes, and I want to bring up the lead actress, Jenny Gago. Now, they're seeing her in the movie as 74 years old. Jenny Gago comes up in a little mini skirt, all sexy. Wow, they're going, woo, that's the girl that's in the movie. So just watching that's the same woman. It was like a great before and after reference. And then that's how we got voted in. They got the nomination.
And before you talk about training day that John also asked, it's crazy because those both movies, that and My Family, the only nomination that are your nomination. And man, Google thought, no? That woman that the beginning of My Family is now Jennifer Lopez. No, Google thought. No, man, I freaking love Gregory Nava. And made John and myself happy. Training Day, man. One of my favorite movies ever.
All right. Well, one of the biggest challenges was doing Training Day is when they decided to move the Smiley gang scene up into the shooting schedule early. Now, there was rain expected for the following week, and that means you go to cover set. Cover set is what you call a set that you use while it's raining outside and it's interior scene. On the schedule was the cover set of a scene with Denzel Washington and Eva Mendes, a bedroom scene. And we're filming nights. It was a Thursday night around 10 o'clock. And the production manager comes up to me and says, hey, Ken, looks like we're going to have to move the Smiley gang scene up to next Tuesday. And I go, wait, no. I told you guys that none of that tattoo is ready. That's weeks away before we get all those tattoo ready. He goes, well, the problem is that Denzel feels that he needs some more training time to lose some weight before he wants to do a scene with Eva without a shirt. So I don't know. We really don't have any other choice. He goes, so I need you to tell me, what would it take to get all the tattoos ready for Tuesday? I go, what? I go, okay. So I couldn't even wrap my head around that. That's crazy. There's so much, 5 weeks of work he wants me to do in, less than 5 days. Like, oh man. So 2 o'clock in the morning, I go back to him. I said, look, this is what I figured out. I need to call up every tattoo artist I know and every makeup artist I know that can do tattoos. And we work from now until then to get it done. That's the only way possible. He goes, okay, do that. Go do that. No, you're not supposed to say do that. So I had made some calls. Fortunately, I did tattoos for Blood In, Blood Out and American Me. And I had a large library of research for tattoos. And I had guys that I brought in on that. real prison tattoo artists, ex-cons guys that were out of prison now and trying to make a life for themselves, and a few Latino tattoo artists that hadn't been to prison, that knew Latino gang tattoos, and a couple makeup artists that I knew that worked with me on tattoo stuff. Anyway, we got a trailer. We worked around the clock. We'd take naps. That was it. We'd take naps. And fortunately, we were able to make that deadline because we had basically 4 days, because we had a really early, we had like a 2 o'clock call on Tuesday morning to get all the tattoos on. So we had 4 days to do all that. I don't know how we got it done, but we got it done. I had a great team. Fortunately, these guys are dedicated. They saw the need, and it was Latino brothers. They were ex-gang members, ex-convicts. These guys they helped pull that together, and that's what you see on the screen. We turned the New Zealand-born Cliff Curtis into a hardcore veterano cholo gang leader.
I don't know why Cliff Curtis keeps making is the perfect Colombian killer, Latino killer. I don't know, but I love him, man. And a parenthesis, and man, you made the tattoos from Red Dragon, man. You made my life. It's the most cool tattoo ever. And man, before you continue, when Alonso, I mean, Denzel said, "Hey, mami, tu Eva Mendes, the most Latino ever, man." I feel, he's Latino. Continue.
So anyway, that's kind of my training day story.
You made me happy, and I will tell John, vas a estar feliz con la historia.
Todas unas anécdotas increíbles, eso sí, lo está gozando, Andrés. Además, sigue, aparte de eso, las 3 contribuciones que hizo para Piratas del Caribe. Imagínate. Así que, let's go, man.
Let's go. Pirates of the Caribbean. Vámonos. Okay, so I worked on the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean. The first one was called Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. And on that movie, I was responsible for doing the Rigetti, the pirate with a wooden eye, Cotton, the pirate with the pirate with a parrot on his shoulder, Grapple, a muscular guy with a grappling hook, and of course, I had to do the pyromaniac pirate, the guy that lit bombs off his beard. His name was Fuse. So I was, hey, that's my guy. He's a pyromaniac like me. So the funny part was they moved that also up in the schedule. And I had 1 day to rig up a beard that had these little glowing, smoldering tips. And I had to make that out of copper little cups with copper wiring, and put little cone incense in there that we'd light up just before we rolled. I also designed the Jack Sparrow tattoo on his arm with a sparrow over the waves with a sun. That was my design. And Johnny liked the design so much, he got it done for real. So he wears that to this day. That was one of my that was the proudest moments when he got that done for real. So on the second movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Now we started that off in a volcanic island called Dominica. Beautiful island. And we made up all these cool cannibals. That was so fun and artistically rewarding to do those cannibal makeups. And then we came back and we shot the rest of the movie in the Bahamas. And that's when I got moved to be the background additional makeup supervisor, running all the people all the hundreds of pirates through background. Now, we had this big, huge tent that we set up, and we had all these 50 makeup stations in there. And we'd make over 100 pirates a day come through there, putting fake beards, dirt, blood, cuts, scars on them. And so I had this idea to make it fun. I had people bring in from the United States would come over. I have them get boxes of floor tiles, sticky floor tiles. And I had bring a box of black sticky tiles. You bring a box of white sticky tiles. And over the course of a month, I built a black and white checkered dance floor around the makeup stations. And at wrap time, when the pirates came to get their beards off and the dirt and blood cleaned off, we'd be playing the music. blasting the music, and everybody could be going on the dance floor like a soul train, doing their own special dance. We had karate guys doing circular flips. It was great. We had great fun. So on the on the third pirate movie, at World's End, we were prepping that, and V. Neal, the makeup department head, said I was the one. She wanted me to research. We had to create 5 different ethnic groups of pirates. We had French pirates, Chinese pirates, Turkish pirates, Indian pirates, Hispanic pirates, and I researched facial hair from that time period. So, and I created looks, 5 different looks for each ethnic group, and had those pieces built. And that was my prep. Now we shot most of the movie in an aircraft hangar about an hour and a half north of Los Angeles in Lancaster, California. And so we were doing the same stuff basically that we had done before, but I decided that we needed to change up. Before we had a disco dance floor. This time we created a roller derby where you would skate around in an oval. So it took us for weeks. We were doing this very quietly, so nobody knew. And everybody was making costumes and coming up with roller derby names. I was the Crippler. They had Trampolina. Everybody had a roller derby name. So come the day we're going to do this, we run out on this. Next to our makeup stations was another part of the hangar that nobody was using. So we quickly put up a light rope track all around there, and we got the music and we started skating, and we were having fun for about half an hour until one of the male security guards came by. They thought it was great because the girls had little shorts on and they were enjoying the show. Then the woman security guard came. What are you guys doing? You can't do this. This is an airport. You need to take all that down. So she kind of made us shut it down. But we had a good 30, 40 minutes of fun before that happened. But anyway, I always try to make it fun when we're doing these kind of movies. So that was the first 3 pirate movies.
I got 2 questions. John, 2 preguntitas. Just
Claro
one
que
question.
sí.
You made the amazing eye makeup from Johnny in the second one. I mean, that scene is so iconic. You know, the eyes here. And two, they never dance Zona da Gangsta o Daddy Yankee. There is a part dedicado al Pirata del Caribe. They never dance it?
No.
Man, that's crazy that a Latino artist made a song about selling pirates to the Pirata del Caribe. And you have to listen it.
You know, I also did some tattoos for Johnny on that one. He played different characters, so I had to cover him in fake tattoos. I had to cover his real tattoos and put a bunch of fake tattoos for certain scenes that he plays multiple characters. And also in the third one, I had to do a bunch of Chinese tattoos in a hot tub. One of them melts. Had to rig that up to melt. Yeah, so those are kind of some of the highlights of what I did at World's End.
John, antes de que hable, es que le pregunté si ellos bailaron Zona de Gangsta. No la bailaron. Y sí, el famoso tatuaje de Johnny Depp se lo hizo.
Increíble. Inmortalizado. Ay, sí, eso es increíble. Bueno, aparte de todo esto, hay que hablar sobre otras producciones. Creo que elaboró una sobre el Red Dragon, sobre el arte del diseño de los tatuajes. Así que están 3: The Salton Sea, Red Dragon y Chuck Collar. Así que creo que puedas hablar. Es increíble. Chuck Collar is amazing, man.
Thank you. Yeah, so you want to translate? So
No.
Okay, all right. So anyway, we're going to talk about the tattoo work I did on Salton Sea, Red Dragon, and Shock Collar. So, when I approached doing tattoo designs, I've always considered temporary tattoos as a great storytelling tool. And the first step and the most important step is doing extensive research. The story, sometimes the story may occur at a very specific time in history in a very specific region. So you need to really do your research before you even attempt to start the design process. And in addition to that, I've always tried to, in addition to do that, you're going to tell the backstory of the character. Use this to tell the history of this person, and also give some psychological insight of this character to the audience. It doesn't have to be done in flashbacks or dialogue. They can basically see this person's life on their skin. So, the character might be a hardcore 45-year-old convict, but I will start with determining what was the very first tattoo this guy got. It might be a little tattoo he did himself on his hand, very crude. And then I want to continue on. I want to go in sequence. What tattoos he's covered in tattoos now, but I want to map out the history of each year that he got tattooed, so you can see that on his skin. So for the Salton Sea, I got a call from Val Kilmer, the star of the Salton Sea. Now, I'd done some tattoo work for Val on the movie Heat. And so he gave me a call. Yeah, with John Caglione. And he says, Ken, can I come? I'm doing this movie Salton Sea. Can you come over to the set and I can talk to you about it? I said, sure. So I got there, and Val had a postcard of a dead tree in the water of the Salton Sea. Now, first of all, the Salton Sea is a dead sea that's in the desert here in Southern California, about a couple hours from Los Angeles. And nothing can live there. He goes, I like this tree in the water. You think you can do something, but I want this to look like this tattoo to look like a very dark, evil, menacing place. So I took his tattoo design and I cleaned off a lot of the branches, cleaned it up, and then I over the top of the water, I put a hovering Grim Reaper looking down on everything. And then underneath, I put in Old English writing, the Salton Sea. And they love that. The reveal is great in the movie. And for the Red Dragon, so this movie, I created a full back tattoo for Ray Fiennes. And the reveal is very, very impactful, and it gives insight to that this is a psychologically disturbed man. And that was a huge undertaking because we had made tattoo designs. I made a body mold of Ray Fiennes in November, designed all the tattoos to fit that body mannequin. But we shot this thing in February, and Rafe had been working out with a trainer, building up. He had all this muscle. None of the tattoos fit. So at the last minute, I had to adjust it, and I can use these transfers. We had to make a stencil, and I had 6 makeup artists and tattoo artists. We had to hand draw that every day. It took 7 hours, but that was I think it was I was very happy with the results. And for shot color, now in the shot color, I had to create a huge number of tattoos for multiple type gang members. Fortunately, the director, Rick Roman Woha, he had done all the research ahead of time. He knew what every specific sub gang was, and he had tattoo research for that stuff. So, but in the movie, the big part was using tattoos to track the lead character's transition from a white-collared businessman to eventually becoming the leader of this white supremacy gang. So as we go through the film, you can see the progression of tattoos that gets added to his body. And I think when the movie came out, very few people saw it, but now that it's out on the internet, I'm getting a lot of calls and stuff that people really enjoy that movie.
And
so
yeah, man, tell me. No, I want to tell that you made a Francis Bacon on the Batman.
Good one, man.
So, in addition to telling stories with these tattoos, the temporary tattoos can also, to help in to develop the look of the characters. Temporary tattoos can also help sell the movie. Now, for all three of these movies, The Salton Sea, Red Dragon, and Shell Collar, the tattoo images were used on the movie poster to help promote these movies. So I was very pleased that they had used that. So it really gives value to the work that we do on these movies.
I will ask John why his favorite. John, ¿cuál es tu afiche favorito? ¿Salton Sea, Shot Caller o Red Dragon de los tatuajes?
Uf, man.
John, Red Dragon.
Chuck Collar.
Red Caller. Yeah.
Es que no, todo me gusta. El de Red Dragon es una fascinación, pero es que el de Chuck Collar no sé, han gastado. Es único, sí. Ahí está. Bueno, aparte de ellos, dos últimas preguntas. ¿Quién es sobre? Ken es uno de los pocos que ha ganado el premio Saturn por Pantera Negra. Así que coméntanos esa experiencia porque es única.
Yeah, man, you are the only few winners of the Saturn Awards. In fact, I kept watching more Saturn Award winners than other prize winners. So tell us being a Saturn Award winner, man. Pantera Negra, Black Panther.
Black Panther. I think my biggest accomplishment on Black Panther was the Akoi head tattoo. The director had an idea of doing a actual panther tattoo, the face of a panther, and I felt her skin is very dark and it wouldn't read properly. But I went ahead and did what the director asked. But then I started coming up my own conceptual designs. Now, the beginning of the movie, our Akoi character is flying a fighter aircraft. And so I had this idea to make her tattoo look like a pilot helmet. So I started coming up with different design concepts as a fighter pilot. And what I ended up with a design that resembles a fighter pilot, but with patterns and shapes off her costume. The colors and cup with little triangular shape, and I utilized that to tie her costume into her tattoo. And I was very pleased. That's one of my favorite tattoo I've ever designed in my career was probably the Akoi head tattoo. It was so complicated in its design and in the application process, and I feel it just really sold the character. I think it's iconic. And there was some other stuff. I also designed the Jabari Warrior tattoos at Warrior Falls, the big muscular guys, and I designed the body painting that they had. And there was a modern city they called Step City where they had like hipsters, and it was in the script that they wanted glowing tattoos. So I did a few of those guys. I had arm tattoos that were iridescent and lit up and glowing. They walk by camera very quickly, but if you take an eye, look at next time, you can see them. The other thing that I was responsible was the Forrest Whitaker shaman makeup. Now, Forrest was supposed to come on a Monday out to the set a week ahead of time. And we're supposed to have discussions, talk about his makeup look. But as the week went on, Forrest's arrival kept getting pushed later and later. I ended up not seeing Forrest until Friday afternoon. And I wanted to talk, what are we going to do for your makeup? Because everybody said, well, he has his own ideas what he wants to do. So I talked to him on Friday. We came up with a few things we're going to test. So I came in early on Saturday morning and we tested all day long. Like for 14 hours, we tested different makeups. I was exhausted. So at the end of the day, Ryan Coogler, the director, came in and we showed him what we had done. And he go, okay, we're going to go with that. Okay. All right. So I was so tired. I said, guy, drive my car home. I can't drive. I'm too tired. So it was a big day. So now it's on Sunday evening and around 6:00 in the evening, I get a call from Ryan Coogler, the director. Hey, Ken, I've been looking at some research photos. I think I want to try a different look for Forrest, a different look. Yeah. Well, he works in the morning, right? Yeah. You know what? I'm going to have him come in later. I'm going to bring a photo double in the morning. And he sent me pictures going, okay, I want you to try this look on the photo double. Okay. So I tried the look on the photo double and I looked at it and I said, well, I think I need to change this and this. And then Forrest came in and I did the makeup on Forrest based on the test makeup I just finished with a few tweaks. And that's the look that's in the movie. That's how close we came to, I mean, it just, it was just like, that's the kind of stuff that you have to do on movies. You have to be ready to make changes. You have to be ready to step up and let's just go, guys. We're going to make this happen. So that was my, my biggest Black Panther stories, guys.
Qué maravilla de entrevista, una masterclass. Y también la última pregunta de la noche y es, ¿cómo describe tu carrera? Él le gustaría la carrera de él en una palabra.
Okay, like the first, sorry for the people. I know sometimes interrupt, but man, I'm so happy. I'm feeling like a kid. And two, man, the final question that John always does, and I'm so happy to do it to you. Try to define your career, your work, everything in one word.
Well, I would have to say resilient. And I'll tell you why. Throughout my career, I've had many accomplishments, but I've also been in many war zones. I have been the target of politically motivated backstabbing by people who are trying to get ahead. And it might be my fun-loving spirit that made me seem like an easy mark, you know, and I was set up several times. I was fired off a few jobs because I was sabotaged and backstabbed. You know, at the point where I was ready to quit the business and get back to the Mexican food. I was ready to get back. I was going to make tamales because I thought that was going to be my new life. But you know what? I hung in there. You know, I hung in there and I kept fighting. Because I got fired off of 2 jobs in a row. One with John Candy and Addams Family. I designed all the movies, all the makeups for the first Addams Family. Lurch, Fester, the grandma. Those are my designs. But they were jealous because they attempted to do them and they had failed. And I came in, they loved me, and they backstabbed me so they can teach their people to do my makeup. That's what happened. This was the second film I got fired off. But you know what? And there's other times where I've been the victim of suspicious racism. Many times I've been up for projects where I'm clearly the most qualified. But the person with much less qualification was hired. And I can only suspect that it was because they either looked different or spoke different than I did. That's the only thing I could suspect. And then there's encountered more blatant racisms, like the time when Robert, on the set of Popeye, the time that Robert Evans, the president of Paramount Studios and the producer of Popeye, called up Dick Smith, the master makeup artist, and introduced me to Dick over the phone as this goddamn Cheech and Chong makeup artist. Now, I know that Robert Evans was trying to belittle me, but I love Cheech and Chong. So I took that as a compliment. You know, there's other times where I've been verbally abused on set with directors and ADs. And my mother always told me, you need to stick up to bullies. So I've been I gave a chest bump to Robert Evans one time. And the secretary screamed and we both went sideways. I've been in fist fights with ABs that got in my face. And there's a lot of stuff that went on. It's a difficult career when you're trying to get there and particularly when you're just focusing on doing a good job and not playing politics. But you know what? I can't concentrate on all that negative stuff. I've had a remarkable career and I've had some great experiences. And you know what? I've always wanted to be more than just makeup. I always wanted to be greatly involved in the filmmaking process. And whether it be being a set medic, a lion handler, an ostrich wrangler, but you know, I also love working with actors. And I love being part of their acting process. I love to foresee any particular need they may have coming up and assisting in them achieving that need so they can get the best performance possible. You know, I worked for many years. I worked with a good friend of mine, Mickey Rourke, and Mickey Rourke and I worked on this the first movie Heaven's Gate together, and we had a lot in common. We both we both got our ass kicked growing up. We got a lot of beatings, and we were both big boxing fans, and we both were. Mickey did amateur boxing. I did some martial arts. So, and Mickey, when he came out, he was supposed to be the next hot shot actor out of the actor studio. And Mickey was doing his big scene in the movie with Christopher Walken in a cabin. We were shooting this over the course of two days at magic hour. And we weren't allowed inside. And when it came down, wrapped the first day, I got in the first van, went to the back seat, lay down. Mickey was the second one coming in. He was sobbing. He was crying. I didn't know. I kept quiet. Other people came in. Mickey got it together. And I asked the camera guy, what happened? Well, Mickey forgot his lines, and the director took his hat and started beating him across the face with a hat. And I go, oh, man. I found out later that what Mickey happened was in the scene, the actor grabs Mickey by the head and pulls his tongue. That triggered a childhood flashback of him getting beaten up as a kid. And he just kind of froze. So the next day, we're going to finish that scene. Before Mickey came in, I made a little surprise for him. Mickey came in, very quiet. I made him up. He went to his little room, honey wagon room in the trailer across the way. About half an hour later, it's time to go to set. Mickey's coming by the makeup chair. I come down and I hold up. I go, Mickey, check this out. And I hold up a robe and I turn it around and it says Mickey Montana with a star in it in aluminum foil. And I drape it over him like a boxer. And I go, come on, champ, let's go get him. And we march to the van. We get in. We get out. It is time to go in. I take the robe off. I spritz him with water, slap him on the cheek. Take him out, champ. He went in there, smoked that scene, and he wanted to star in 2 other Michael Cimino movies, that director. And, you know, we went on to have a history. We've had so much history together, but you know what? I've also worked with great actors, and I knew their name. Faye Dunaway, she has a reputation, but I took her as a challenge. I had to figure out how can I make this woman settle down, calm down, and get her best workout. And it took me a few weeks, but I figured it out like a puzzle. I worked with Diane Lane. She had some insecurities because the guys on The Outsiders would make fun of her, call her ugly. I'm working with her on a movie, Perfect Storm, all guys again. She's getting flashbacks from the other movie because they called her ugly. So she would come in I would make her up and give her some makeup. So then when she'd come in later, she already had makeup and looked nice with the other men actors. And it's one of those situations where I always try to figure out what can I do to help these actors do the best performance. Anyway, guys, that's my story.
And I want to say something. Did you fight the Austrian? Did you fight Robert Evans? And did you calm down Faye Dunaway? No, man, you're amazing. And I got flashbacks from Mickey on the wrestler, man. No, man, that was beautiful. And for John, gracias y felicitaciones. Congratulations.
Oh, felicitaciones a todos porque cumplimos esta meta y además, por último, Ken, este es tu espacio para que digas tus redes sociales, invita a la gente a seguir tu trabajo en el website y bueno, saludos a Colombia, la cámara es tuya.
Y hoy no hay foto, no creo. ¿Ok?
Sí, al final.
Sí. Ok, no, Ken, the camera is yours. The people is now logging and we'll see the interview, of course, later. Invite people to the social media, tell a big hi to Colombia, to our Latinos, family, to wherever you want. Go ahead.
Y adiós, Colombia. Take care, guys. Buena suerte. Love you guys.
Vamos a tomar la foto como despedida, así que...
We are going to take a picture, man.
All right.
1, 2, and... Just save a moment, please.
Eso.
Muchas gracias, Ken, por la oportunidad. Mucho éxito. God bless you. Greg Witt. Take care, man.
All right, guys. Take care, man. Love you.
Take care, man. Thank you so much.